I welcome you all to the module number 11 of this course. So, module number 11 is about developing positive personality traits, and this is the last lecture of this module. So, this is fourth lecture of this module, and overall it is lecture number 27. So, today we will be talking about one of the positive personality trait which is called as kindness. So, before we talk about today's lecture, let me give you a brief recap of the last lecture. So, in the last lecture, that is lecture number 26, we discussed about one of the positive personality trait which is empathy. So, in that context, we discussed the difference between the term empathy, sympathy and compassion. We also talked about the different domains or dimensions of empathy, and we discussed some of the neurological basis of empathy. We also discussed what are the possible predictors of empathy, what empathy can predict in terms of behavior of human being. We also talked about what is the right kind of empathy, in a sense that some aspects of empathy could be it could be very sense of draining in a sense on the person when person identifies too much with the other suffering. So, in that sense, what is the right approach to look at empathy, and at the end we discussed how can we cultivate this sense of empathy. So, these are some of the things that we discussed in the last lecture. In today's lecture, we will be talking about the concept of as a trait. So, we will be talking about what counts as kindness. So, basically we will try to see what is the meaning of kindness and what kind of behaviors are counted as kindness. We also we will talk about evolutionary mechanisms of kindness, how evolution can explain the sense of kindness that we see among human beings. We will be talking about the relationship between kindness and happiness, and at the end we will be talking about practicing kindness. So, let us start today's lecture. So, when we talk about the concept of kindness, this is something we all understand, we all heard about this term because this is something that is very important in everyday's day-to-day life functioning, and we keep hearing about this word from various sources including religions and so on. So, when we talk about kindness, its very simple meaning is that actions intended to benefit others. So, any action that is done with the intention to benefit somebody, that is called as a kindness. So, this is the one of the simplest definition that we can say. Whatever action you do, if the intention is to benefit someone else or with the positive intention to have some positive impact on someone else or benefit someone else, so that action can be called as a kindness in a very broad and general sense. When you talk about kindness, it is a very strong moral dimension, because everybody wants that kindness should be present in the among human beings, because this is a kind of preferable trait that we all want that human beings should have. So, in that sense, it has a lot of positive moral connotation associated with it. All religions actually prescribes practice of kindness as a holy virtue and the basis of our happiness. Almost every religion talks about it, and it is one of the foundational quality or characteristics that is preferred or kind of promoted by different religions and moral philosophies and so on. So, in that sense, this is something very important, and it is one of the important fabric of human society, and that is promoted by as a moral has a very positive moral connotation. So, when we talk about the word kindness, it includes combination of emotional aspect, behavioral aspect and motivational aspect. So, a lot of these psychological construct that we talk about, these are not just thought processes, they have emotional aspects to it, they have behavioral impact to it. So, when you have certain sense of kindness in your mental aspects, it will reflect in your behavior also, it will reflect in your motivation also, it will reflect in your emotion also. So because mind is not an isolated thing, it has a constant interaction with emotions, behaviors and so on. So, similarly, kindness also has a combination of emotional aspect, behavioral aspects, and it also has a motivational component. So, at the emotional level, it is compassion. When there is a kindness in your expression of emotion, it can be called as a compassion. Motivational level, it is an urge to help others, and at the behavioral level, it includes actual helping behavior. So, when you actually go and help someone, so that is the behavioral component to it. So, kindness can reflect itself in the emotional aspects, motivational aspect and the behavioral aspect. So, in a simpler terms, kindness means treating others with warmth and respect. So, these are different ways of defining the same term. So, it also includes the aspect of treating others with warmth and respect. So, when we explore kindness, it has many aspects to it in terms of what are the components included in it. Some of these things we have already discussed. One is also other aspects include, like it involves generosity, which is about giving your time, resources and skills to help those in need. So, that is the one component of kindness, generosity, giving your time, resource and skills in terms of helping other people. Kindness also includes compassion, as we already talked about it. This is an important component of kindness itself, mostly in the emotional aspects, which means being truly present for someone, whether by actively listening to their struggles or offering silent support. This compassion reflects genuine concern for others and well-being, and many times this compassion gets reflected in the behavior of actually helping someone. In the last lecture, when we talked about empathy, we discussed that compassion is also one of the aspects of empathy also, and mostly it gets reflected in the action of the person. So, kindness is also about nurturing and caring for others. So, finding joy in doing favors, offering support and performing acts of goodwill. So, this is also another aspects to kindness, basically nurturing and caring for others. All these qualities basically gets reflected in the form of kindness. Now, so if you look at these characteristics, a lot of people have a trait of kindness. So, it can be a part of your personality trait, in terms of that some people are more kind as compared to other as a natural trait. So, there are individual differences in terms of kindness. So, some people have this trait of kindness much more developed as compared to others. So, having said that, obviously kindness can also be developed by the people kind of lower in this respect, or less expression in terms of kindness, but in terms of individual differences, personality traits, some people are high on it, some people are low on it. So, that all differences are there. So, we have also discussed in the module first lecture of this module that we discuss character strengths. If you remember what we discussed, that one of the categories of this character strength or virtues, that is the humanity virtue. Under this, kindness was an important character strength. So, globally kindness, so this is also an important strength of character. So, if it is not just a personality trait, also it is important strength of character that we discussed in the first lecture of this module. So, globally kindness ranks among the top 5 most common character strengths. So, if you in the character strength, because there are measurement instrument available, and thousands of people across the globe have already measured their character strengths, and it has been found globally this kindness ranks among the top 5 character strengths for most of the people. They prefer this sense of kindness as one of the most important, topmost top among the top 5 character strengths among the 24 character strengths. So, this shows people give a lot of importance to this trait. Research also indicates that kindness serves as a buffer against negative effects of stress, promoting resilience and emotional well-being. So, people who are kind in a sense also has some other positive benefits in terms of difficulties with the stressful, and it also promotes sense of resilience and also enhances emotional well-being. So, we will be looking at some of the possibilities why this happens. Also, practicing kindness towards yourself can also reduce anxiety, self-criticism, perfectionism, fostering healthier and more balanced mindset. Some research also indicate that you can be kind towards yourself also. Sometimes some people are too critical about themselves and they are not happy with any aspect of themselves. So, too much of self-blaming and those things goes on with a lot of people, which manifests itself into a lot of dissatisfaction, lot of irritation, lot of anger, lot of those kind of lack of self satisfaction can reflect itself into many negative behaviors. So, kindness towards oneself could also can be a positive thing, in a sense it will reduce all this negative attitude towards oneself. So, the practicing kindness towards yourself can reduce a lot of this anxiety associated with self criticism and other things. Some people are too much of perfectionist, they want everything to be perfect and they cannot tolerate anything going wrong in their life. So, those people all the time they are in the very full of anxiety in terms of their mindset. So, sometimes research also shows that practicing kindness towards oneself also, most of the time kindness is directed towards other people, but kindness could also be directed towards oneself, which has also many benefits, especially for people who are too perfectionist, too much of self critical towards themselves. Now, what counts as kindness? That basically means what kind of behaviors can be called as a kind behavior. So, definition we have already said. So, any action that you do with the intention to benefit someone, that will be called as a kindness. So, it can include anything. So, it is not necessarily kindness is something that is only reflected in terms of great work of charity or some kind of great help that you are showing towards someone else. The kind behavior could reflect, or acts of kindness could be reflected in a very simple day to day actions that we perform in our life. It could be things like just a smile towards someone just to encourage that person can also be counted as a act of kindness if the intention is to help that person, or saying thank you or a word of encouragement to other people. So, these are simple things that we do in our day to day life which may not really cost you anything, but if your intention is to help someone, encourage someone, motivate someone with a smile or saying thank you or some kind of work of words of encouragement, all this could be counted as a acts of kindness. So, it is not necessary to do some great charity work to be called as an act of kindness. Small things could also be included under that. So, what is important is that it is an act coming from genuine care and concern for another person. So, that is the main criteria in the action. So, outward expression of action is not that important, intention is more important in this context. So, the acts of kindness can come from spur of the moment. Sometimes people get engaged into acts of kindness randomly. You see somebody and something triggers you and you try to help someone. So, spur of moment it can come. So, those are also called as a random acts of kindness that people do, or it can be thought and planned in an advance. So, you can sometimes very planned way advance, you plan something to help someone, do calculations and all the kinds of stepwise analysis, and then you help someone. So, people do that kind of also actions. So, it does not matter because for whether you do it as a random acts of kindness or a planned action, both can be called as an act of kindness, only the intention that is matters. So, kindness requires us to be aware of the people around us and to notice their needs and feelings. So, most importantly, people who are kind in terms of personality trait are people who are more sensitive to the needs of other people. They have more empathy probably, so that kind of they can understand perspective of other people, more sensitive towards the needs of other people. From that actually kindness as an emotion or as an action emerges. So, let us see some of the evolutionary mechanism of kindness. Now, kindness is not just psychological concept. Evolutionary psychologists also discuss that kindness emerges from the evolutionary basis also many times. So, it is somehow inbuilt in the biology of the human beings, in a limited sense. Obviously, in the human beings, kindness could express itself in so many diverse ways, but evolutionary forces with the progress of time, evolution has given certain tendencies towards kindness in a limited sense, maybe in a very selfish sense also, to promote the species, because without kindness the species will die. So, it is very important that kindness is there inbuilt in the biology of the animals and human beings, otherwise the whole species will not be able to survive and go to the next generation. So, there are certain evolutionary basis of kindness which promotes the action of kindness. Let us see some of this evolutionary basis. So, kindness has a very strong evolutionary basis and because it promotes social connections, cooperation and flourishing of communities and societies. It is because of the kindness that there is a social connection, that people connect with other people, help other people, people grow or thrive as a community, as a society. If there is no kindness, people will not connect, they will completely kind of disintegrate themselves, and probably a lot of this is happening in today's world because of this whole sense of kindness is reducing. So, a lot of disintegration is happening at the group level and the society level also. So, because it promotes social connection, cooperation, flourishing in the survival of the species, all these are required. So, that means there is some evolutionary basis to it. Evolution is promoting this kind of behavior. So, how evolution is promoting this behavior? Let us see some of these mechanisms. So, evolutionary mechanisms favors kindness in a varieties of ways. Curry et al. Reported some of the mechanisms of evolutionary mechanisms in the kindness. One is kindness to families, that is called as a kin altruism. So, when we talk about evolutionary mechanism, basically we are talking about evolution is promoting those behavior. So, there is an inbuilt mechanism that is promoting this behavior. automatically there is a tendency towards those behaviors. So, the biological forces are promoting those behaviors. So, one is, if you look at the evolutionary basis, that something called as a keen altruism, which basically means there is a natural sense of kindness towards the family members or people who are very close genetically. So, natural selection promotes kindness to genetic relatives such as family members. For example, love and kindness for offsprings or children, siblings, parents, etc. So, if you look at, so obviously the evolutionary forces are limited in some sense. So, even though there is a boundary to it, but it promotes for the survival of the species. So, if you see even animals, even lot of animals and human beings in particular, so there is a sense of keen altruism that we are more likely to be kind and help people who are genetically close to us naturally. If there is any need for people who are very close to us, maybe our siblings, brothers, sisters or parents, whoever is genetically close, there is a natural tendency among us to be more kind towards them, to help them if they are in the difficulties and so on. So, this is something that is very automatic, everybody generally tries to do. Obviously, in human beings there can be exceptions where there can be problems and other things. We are not talking about those things, but in general there is a kindness, more kindness people show towards the genetically close people. It could be your brother, sister, it could be your parents, whatever it is, or it could be your own children and so on. There is a natural tendency to be kind, more kind towards them. So, evolution is promoting them because it is necessary for survival. So, in sense, so that is called as a keen altruism. This is one of the first principles of evolutionary basis for kindness. That can get expressed into other higher realms later on, but only but evolution is promoting that. So, that is called keen altruism. Second is called mutualism, which means kindness to members of one's community, which is called as a mutualism. So, which basically means natural selection or evolutionary forces favors the tendency to be kind, to coordinate and collaborate with others who share common interests such as teammates and group members. So, we also evolutionary there is a basis for more kindness, showing more kindness and cooperation towards people who are part of our one group. Whatever that group means, it could be your people who are in your community, whatever the definition of community could be. Community may be a social group, people who live in a society, or may be a religious group or cultural group, whatever it is. So, there is a natural tendency to be more kind and cooperative towards one community and coordinate with them, and because there is some kind of common interest among this group of people. So, this tendency led humans to form clubs, gangs, sects and so on. This forms the kindness can explain loyalty, solidarity, camaraderie, civic mindedness, community spirit and commitment to cause greater than oneself. So, this is expressed in terms of showing more concern and cooperation towards people of one's own group. That group could be a small group, could be a larger group, whatever it is, we are member of so many different varieties of groups. So, because of certain common characteristics, that there is a natural tendency, evolutionary force is promoting that kind of behavior, and people engage in that kind of behavior. So, that is called mutualism. The third is called reciprocal altruism. So, basically it means people show more kindness to those people who are more likely to again meet and return favor. So, that is also another where basically a lot of this can have certain self interest in it, in that people are more likely to help someone if they see a possibility that this person will return or kind of return that favor in some way. There is a higher possibility, then probably they are more likely to help. So, this is kind of another evolutionary mechanism involved in it. So, natural selection favor kindness to those who might return a favor later. This is what mostly unconscious, this is what happens. So, reciprocal altruism can explain kindness in the form of sympathy, trust, returning favors, gratitude, forgiveness and friendship. A lot of this can be explained by this, So, you tend to kind of show more kindness towards the people in terms of who are more likely to, again you are more likely to meet them and so on. So, reciprocal altruism predicts that these tendencies will most likely to be shown in interaction where individual expects to meet them again, and may include kindness to strangers. It may be the way of making new friends and so on. So, many people also even help strangers, which may be because of this mechanism of kind of showing kindness for, so that you can meet again and kind of some kind of relationship is built with them and so on. So, people also express kindness because of this reciprocal altruism concept also. Fourth mechanism is called competitive altruism. Some evolutionary psychologist also says that natural selection favors kindness that impresses peers and attracts mate. So, many times people show cooperative or helpful behavior towards the another person just to impress people also sometimes. So, particularly in the presence of the mates or possible potential mates. So, competitive altruism can explain kindness in the form of generosity, bravery, heroism, chivalry, magnanimity and public service, and these are elicited especially in the presence of rivals and potential mates, as it may enhance one's status. So, many times people also engage in cooperation because just to impress also some people in whatever their peer groups, and particularly it become more prevalent in case of mates or opposite sex and so on, because there is a possibility that could attract your opposite mates and so on by showing this kind of behavior, because there is a positive impact of such kind of behavior. So, many times people can engage in the sense of cooperation because it enhances one's status. So, that is called competitive altruism. So, these are some of the possible evolutionary basis to kindness, that why people sometimes show cooperation towards certain kind of people. It could be because of some of these reasons, because evolution or biologically it promotes certain kind of cooperation or kindness behaviors and the individual level, group level and so on, because it promotes survival of the species. It promotes certain kind of survival as a group, making social connections and so on. But when we talk about evolutionary forces, it is very unconscious forces. It can just direct certain kind of tendencies, and it could be in a very selfish in certain sense also. Now, when we talk about kindness in human beings, sometimes human being kindness could be even much broader than this evolutionary mechanism that we are talking about. One can be completely selflessly kind also, which could be rare, which may not be very prevalent for a lot of people. Most people could be under these evolutionary forces, but a lot of people can also show beyond these evolutionary forces, where there is no self interest in terms of one's benefit and so on. So, kindness could get expressed in a much broader way when we look at human behavior. So, one of the reasons why so the people get engaged into a lot of this kind behavior is because of its strong connection with happiness. So, there is a saying, what goes around comes around. So, what you give to others, it somehow it return back to you in some way. It may not be immediately, but whatever give you, if you give suffering to others, it will come back to you in some form. This is a general idea. If you give happiness to others, it also comes back to you in some forms. So, kindness is kind of connected to that. So, if you show kindness to another person or cooperation to another person, it will kind of return back to you. It may not be directly in terms of helping someone else back to you, but one of the main thing that comes back to you is the sense of happiness that you get. So, that is very important in terms of kindness, that why sometimes people get engaged into it. So, apart from these evolutionary reasons, a lot of people could get engaged in the cooperative or kindness behavior because of these evolutionary reasons, which could be very unconscious sometimes. And one of the main psychological reason why people may engage in this kindness is because it gives them a lot of happiness. People feel happy, joy by showing kind behavior towards others. It is a natural tendency that when you help someone, it gives you a lot of happiness if you have a genuine concern for other people. So, this is one of the basic reasons why people get engaged in it. People show kindness as it gives them happiness. This may explain a wide variety of behavior, including donations and charity work, even anonymously, without really showing your name and so on. People get engaged into and give donations and supporting people anonymously also. Why somebody could do that? There is no self interest here. It could be because they are getting a lot of happiness out of it, which is more important than their recognition and other things. So, many research support this proposition that act of kindness increases happiness and well-being. So, it increases a lot of happiness and well-being. This could be one of the prime reason why people get engaged with that, apart from those evolutionary reasons. So, one of the interesting study that was done in this context indicates how it is connected to happiness. So, this was the study that followed 5 women with multiple sclerosis. So, these are like women with certain neurological disorder which is called as a multiple sclerosis. So, it has certain disability condition, neurological disorders which limits your life. So, they followed these 5 women with this medical condition multiple sclerosis over 3 years. So, that was the study. These 5 women were subject, and this woman had this multiple sclerosis disorder, and they did a study for 3 years on these 5 women. So, they were given the task of peer support 67 other multiple sclerosis patients by training them to be compassionate and active listening. So, they were supposed to call each patient 15 minutes per month. Okay. So, that was the study. So, main subjects were these 5 women with multiple sclerosis. Now, they were given this task that there were 67 other such patients with multiple sclerosis. So, this condition actually limits your life in so many ways, so you are not able to kind of move and so on. So, it kinds of it is a very highly state where there can be a lot of sufferings and so on. So, these people were asked to compassionately listen 67 other people with a similar same disorder. Now, they were trained to just to listen, how to listen to the problems of others compassionately and active listening. So, there were little bit of training was given to them, how to talk to them and so on, and the task was that 15 minutes per month call each patient at least. So, 15 minutes per month. So, that was something at least once or twice in month they were supposed to call this patient and talk to them and find out what is happening and just to actively listen and support them. So, that was the task that was given. So, for 3 years they did this, and these patients, because they themselves had a lot of problems and issues, and this task was given just to help or emotionally listen to them, be compassionate and those kind of things, just to show some sort of kindness to other similar patients. Now, this research shows after 3 years these 5 women reported they experienced increased satisfaction in their life, they increased sense of self efficacy or self confidence to them, and feelings of mastery. They experience more of new sense of confidence emerge when they talk to similar patient, because many times when we listen to other people and kind of try to solve their problems, we also realize that we have many strengths by which we can support other people, or you also realize that I am not the one who is suffering, there are many other people suffering similarly or maybe more than me, and still maybe they are doing good. So, you also learn a lot of things. So, because of that people may report increased sense of satisfaction, self efficacy, feelings of mastery and so on. So, these 5 women also reported engaging in more social activities and less depression. So, their depression level went down. They also reported that they shifted their focus away from themselves and their problems towards others. So, one of the things that it did is that because they were talking to them and trying to support them emotionally, it helped them to move their attention away from themselves. When you are only focused on yourself, my problem, then it exaggerates and it multiplies your problems. When you remove your attention from yourself and give it to someone else, so you forget a lot of things, it becomes like you do not pay much attention to what is, so that sense of multiplication does not happen of your sufferings. They also reported stronger sense of self esteem and self acceptance. They started accepting themselves more and more, their conditions and disabilities and so on. So, that is something this studies showed, that just every day doing some kind of act of kindness for some time made a lot of difference in their mindset and their behavior, in their emotions when it was done. So, this is one of the study that shows how kindness could be connected to happiness. So, many other studies also shows the act of kindness has many positive effects like increased happiness and well-being, decreases symptoms of depression and anxiety and increases positive emotions, increase in social well-being and quality of relationships and so on. So, these are some of the other research finding that also shows how it is connected to happiness and well-being. Now, the question is why it makes people happy. So, one of the research is very clear that act of kindness actually makes people happy. So, why it makes people happy? What could be the reason behind it? So, Lyubomirsky suggested some of the possible mechanisms why this kindness, acts of kindness makes people happy. Some of the reasons are listed here. One is kindness leads you to perceive others more positively and more charitably. So, when you get engaged in the act of kindness, one thing is obviously you will have a positive attitudes towards, or you will perceive that person positively, otherwise why you do something like that. So, the kindness set of mind perceive others positively, otherwise people will not show kindness. So, there is a sense of you are more likely to perceive other positively, that is why that will get reflected into your behavior. So, your perception of others becomes positive, which gives you a lot of happiness, because if you look at negative aspects of other people, it will also it is more likely to stimulate negative emotions and so on. If you perceive others positively, it is more likely to stimulate positive emotions and so on. So, act of kindness by definition it promotes perception of others in a positive light. Kindness also changes self perception. Many times when you engage in kindness behavior or cooperative behavior, it changes your own perception about yourself. You start liking yourself, you feel like I am doing something worthy. So, your own sense of perception towards oneself becomes much more positive. Many people, they do not have a positive attitude about themselves. So that is why you do not like yourself, because so many things you want, you are not happy with yourself. So, act of kindness actually shift that perception many times, that your sense of self perception becomes positive. So, it helps you to view yourself more compassionate, altruistic person, which may enhance your sense of self esteem, confidence and optimism also. Third reason is act of kindness to others may distract people from their own troubles and ruminations and shift focus from egoistic self to others. So, that is something what this earlier research also shows, that this participant reported, it removed or their attention from their own suffering to others. So, you do not give much importance to what is going on in your personal life. So, you give, because you are giving more space or focus on other people's life. So, too much of egoistic focus gets shifted from oneself to others. So, that also kind of reduces a lot of sufferings and depressions and so on. So, that could be another reason. Fourth reason is acts of kindness for a worthy cause may give you a sense of your abilities, resources, expertise and feeling of control of your life. Many times act of kindness, people realize they have so many abilities to help other people, or they have many expertise, many resources which they were not maybe aware of, but they realize once after engaging in such kind of behavior. So, sometimes self discovery also happens, that also makes you more sense of control of your life and so on. Fifth reason is through act of kindness people also learn new skills or discover hidden talents and promote self efficacy and accomplishment. So, it is connected to the earlier point. Many times people also, while engaging in act of kindness, they learn new skills, because they have to kind of apply themselves in the situation and discover many hidden talents they have. Sixth reason is acts of kindness may promote a sense of meaningfulness as values in one's life. So, it gives you a lot of value and meaning to your life. When people live too much of own individualistic life, egoistic life, you only live for yourself. Then when, on the other hand, when you kind of broaden your boundaries of your life in terms of engage with other people, it gives more meaning and value to your life. Naturally you feel your life has much broader meaning and so on. Seventh reason is kindness can lead to a cascade of positive social consequences, such as others liking you, showing gratitude and reciprocating others. One good behavior can kind of stimulate many positive things in one's life. So, you help someone, so it can lead to many positive consequences, such as others liking you, showing gratitude, reciprocating favors by other people. One action can stimulate many positive actions. Similarly, one negative action can stimulate many negative consequences in one's life. So, action can have long term consequences. So, positive action like kindness can have many long term positive consequences in one's life, which can promote happiness and so on. Eighth reason is kindness satisfied basic human need for connection with others and satisfied the need for relatedness. So, it is a basic human need to connect with other people. So, this is one of the fundamental need that we all want as a social animal, and kindness kind of fulfills that basic need. So, it helps you to give you a lot of satisfaction. So, these are some of the reasons why kindness is connected to happiness, why most of the research shows that it is connected to happiness. So, this could be some of the possible reasons. Now, the last thing which is very important is how to practice kindness. Now as we have already said that kindness could be as a trait for a lot of people. Some people are higher in the trait of kindness, some people may be lower and so on. So, there could be individual differences. So, but having said that, it is not like a very fixed and rigid trait that cannot be changed and so on. People can kind of enhance this quality in their life. So, there is no, when you talk about such kind of qualities, it is not like some kind of techniques that you have to follow. It is more of developing sensitivity and sense of empathy in one's life. So, this is connected to the last lecture that we talked about, empathy, that will also promote sense of kindness. So, once Dalai Lama said, be kind whenever possible, it is always possible. So, that is a kind of gist of what this is all about, that it comes from your broadening of or openness of your mind, becoming more sensitive towards the needs of other people, it automatically flows. So, sometimes one can plan for act of kindness by consciously deciding and planning to help and support some people and organization, like donating resources and so on. Some people are naturally more kind as a trait characteristics, others can develop it by becoming more sensitive towards others' needs. So, basically obviously this whole trait develops slowly from the childhood based on how you are taught, what kind of models you have seen in your life, what kind of people around you, are they kind also not. If you are always exposed to people who are not kind, so naturally that also gets imbibed in your characteristics. So, a lot of factors can contribute to why someone develops the trait of kindness and why someone is less on that. There can be many factors, but it can always change. Sometimes some incidents can change such perspective of life, and sometimes people can consciously develop it. So, that is something about the practice of kindness. Some aspect of kindness, it is not directly kindness, but some behaviors which can be connected to kindness may take toll on certain people. What does that basically means? Research shows that certain type of behaviors, helping behavior, not kindness directly, but some kind of helping behavior which may kind of take toll on the mental health of people, like full time caregiving of chronically ill or disabled loved ones. So, people who take care of people who are chronically ill, let us say ill for years and years, and you have to take care of them, or taking care of disabled people who are very close to you. Such cases, lot of these caregivers experience depression, fatigue, anger and resentment. So, it is a very noble act of kind of helping behavior which may come from kindness, but in such situation it can also take a toll on the people who are doing this behavior, or particularly caregivers. Now, it is not because of the kindness it is happening, but it is because of some other reasons. So, caregivers of spouses with Alzheimer's disease show depression level 3 times more than the average person. So, people who take care of people like with Alzheimer's disease, mostly it is an old age disease, neurodegenerative disease, so where people start forgetting things and so on. People who take care of such people also, especially if that person is very near and dear to you, then the level of depression actually increases for these people. Caregivers of spouses with spinal cord injuries report severe physical and emotional stress, burnout, fatigue, anger and resentment. These are some of the research shows. For these people experience a lot of these negative indicators of mental health. Now, here the problem is not, it is not because of, one can say then kindness should increase happiness, why it is happening that people are becoming depressed in this case. So, here the situation is not because of kindness they are becoming depressed and with full of resentment and so on, but it is because of grieving process that people are looking at their loved ones suffering on a daily basis. kindness is also about, it has an element of empathy also, so although you are showing this kindness and helping behavior, but at the same time you are also looking at another person who is very close to your life and suffering a lot. So that is the main reason why a lot of this negative impact is happening. It's because of this accompanying grieving process, that you see their loved ones are suffering on a daily basis and impending loss of life, and such caregiving also interfere with the daily goals and functionings of the caregiver, which may increase stress and frustration. A lot of people, this is a full time care. So people who are taking care of such people, they are also not able to deal with their life because they are not getting enough time. So their goals of life and functioning of life is strictly hampered. So that could also contribute to a lot of anxiety and depression and so on. So at the emotional level, such caregiving may have detrimental effect, but it may increase certain dimensions of well-being, such as giving purpose and meaning in one's life, and is appropriate because it is an appropriate and honorable work, and one sacrifice pleasures of life because of their duty and so on. So obviously emotionally it can drain people, but at the same time many people in such situation also can report that because of such behavior, because it's something that is their duty and they are sacrificing their own pleasures of life because of their duty, which enhances a sense of meaning and purpose in their life. So in certain dimensions it enhances their well-being, but emotionally it could be quite draining in such cases. So the basic idea in sense of kindness or act of helping is basically a true act of kindness should be done freely and autonomously, and only such acts bring maximum improvement in well-being. When an act of kindness is done fully out of freedom, not because somebody is pressurizing you to do this, then it will not have that benefit. True benefit of act of kindness comes only when it is done fully autonomously with full freedom, not because of certain pressures, external pressures. Then it has the maximum benefit. A forced help may not bring about the benefits of kindness, as it is not truly act of kindness. Then it is not a true act of kindness. You are doing because you are pressurized to do that, or because of the situation you are forced to do this. Then it will not have that benefit because it is not out of your freedom that you are doing it. So that is an important aspect to it, when it can have a positive impact and when it will have it may not have that impact. So the important thing is that kindness should not be forced on someone. Other people may not always welcome your kindness. If you just force yourself on someone's life and start helping, that is also not good. One has to be sensitive. Other people may not always welcome your act of kindness, and may put other people in uncomfortable position or disadvantaged position. So therefore it is very important that one has to be sensitive towards the needs of others and preferences. Simply because you want to help someone, you cannot just force yourself on someone else's life, because that person may not want your help. So that sensitivity is also very important. So these are some of the things, some of the aspects around kindness, and this has a lot of benefits. If you have that kind of mindset or trait in you, then it has a lot of benefits. Particularly it makes your life much more happier and full of satisfaction and full of well-being and so on. So these are some things about act of kindness. So with this I stop here. Thank you.